Well, welcome back to another episode of the Student Athlete Sessions. Today, we are talking to a former D3 athlete that's about to play in the Winter Olympics. Uh, she is a former women's hockey player from Wesleyan in Connecticut. Rei Halloran, thanks for joining the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. As I mentioned, you are about to play in the Olympics, but as we like to start out with everyone, just share where you're calling in from today because it's related.
Yeah, I'm calling in from Tokyo, Japan right now.
Nice. And you are about to undertake training camp for Team Japan and get ready. What does that look like? Preparation for the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, well, I've actually been in Japan for the past couple months. I was contracted with a team in Sweden, but things kind of fell through a bit visa-wise, so I decided to come back to Japan and attend all our domestic training camps. A little bit different from like the US, Canada, big ton of teams like that. We have a training camp every month here, so I've actually been at training camp for the past 3 weeks. Up north in Japan. And now I'm back in Tokyo with my family for about 5 days before heading back to training camp before we head out for the Olympics.
Very nice. Yeah. Um, I'm sure we will get into your pro career outside of Team Japan. I definitely want to hear about that. Um, you grew up in Japan, is that correct? In Tokyo?
Yeah, so I was born here and I lived here until I was about 12 or 13. So kind of right up to sixth grade. And then I moved to Boston, kind of going into middle school.
Gotcha. What was that shift like going from one country to another in kind of some formative years of your life?
Yeah, it was actually really hard for me. I was so used to this small community. I went to the same school from kindergarten through sixth grade, and it was a very tight-knit school. And all my brothers went to the same school as well. So that was kind of all I knew before moving to Boston and going to, I went to BB&N starting in middle school, which is based in Cambridge, but it was a really big change for me. I'd never been like the new kid. So that was really hard and, making new friends. And it wasn't necessarily a move I wanted to make. I think there was a lot of pushback on my end. But obviously I can't do anything to change a familial move. So it was hard. It was really hard, kind of that transition. But honestly, I ended up loving it. So I can't really complain too much now.
Yeah, it seemed like you ended up, you were a captain of two teams. You were the varsity girls ice hockey captain, also the varsity field hockey captain, and like a senior prefect. I'm not sure what that means, but clearly you adjusted eventually. Like, were sports something that helped that adjustment process, or did you already play field hockey and hockey in Japan and just bring those over?
Yeah, I played hockey in Japan. I started playing when I was in Japan, but I played for a boys team in Japan and I had quit or kind of taken a break for a little bit before moving to the US just because they had hitting starting. So I think it was a little bit scary for me, that transition. So I took a break from hockey, but definitely at BB&N we were required to play sports. So that kind of group of girls that I met through there actually became kind of my core friend group, I would say, throughout BB&N. So that really helped a lot with just like meeting new people, finding people who had similar interests as me. So I had never played field hockey until I moved to the US and I started playing in middle school, but I don't think it's too different from hockey. So I picked it up pretty easily, but it was definitely a great way for me to meet kids and kind of get out of my shell a little bit throughout middle school before heading to the high school.
Nice. What position were you playing in each sport at this time, like in high school? And also, we should say BB&N is Buckingham Brown and Nichols School, just for those that are not familiar.
I played midfield actually for field hockey, and a little bit of defense, but I kind of kind of bounced around everywhere, but not, I didn't play goalie. But for ice hockey, I'm actually a goalie. So I kind of wanted to experience that team aspect, I think, in the field hockey. And also, I think being a field hockey goalie is very different from an ice hockey goalie. So it didn't translate much. I tried it once, but I was actually very bad. So they decided to not keep me in that position. But I was really glad I experienced playing with teammates and having more of that team aspect of play through field hockey, which I don't get as much of in ice hockey.
Hmm. Just because the goalie's role is more individual and more isolated. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you need to? I know actually one of our last episodes was a women's soccer goalie, and she was talking about how her one of her biggest jobs is yelling, communicating from the back, and keeping the defenders organized. What is that like in hockey? How it's probably much louder in an ice, like on the ice, than it is on a field. Like, what is your job there from a communication standpoint?
Yeah, I think I talk a lot when they're in our zone because there's three zones. So in like the defensive zone, I like to communicate a lot with my defense, just kind of where's pressure coming at, should they go, should they not go, should they, be a little more offensive on something or defensive. So I do talk a lot in that sense, but I don't like to, I personally don't love to tell people what to do too much because I think, that's how people learn. So I like to quarterback a little bit, but I don't think it's as much as some sports maybe. I'm
Mm,
not really sure about like soccer and stuff, but there's definitely a lot of communication in the D zone. But once they leave the D zone, I'm silent in my own head a bit, with my thoughts. So it's a little different in that sense where you kind of are alone a lot in the game, especially if we're playing a not so good team and they're never in the defensive zone, then I could like
right.
not talk the whole game. So it really is situational, but I do talk a bit just to help my team where they need it and stuff.
Gotcha. Cool. Very, yeah, helpful for me to know and just informative, I'm sure, for a lot of people in the audience. Um, moving on to kind of your development as a player, you had, you're captain of two teams. Was there always a thought that you wanted to play in college? And if so, how did you get started with that? Did your school help you? Did you do it on your own?
Yeah, I would say my process for the college recruitment was kind of late compared to I think the people around me at least. At BBNN, a lot of kids wanted to play college hockey, I would say, on the girls' side. So I had some teammates who were recruited as like a freshman in high school, and I didn't even have that thought in like when I was a freshman. I was actually kind of pushed a little bit through my club coach and also my high school coach, who kind of put the thought in my head of like, oh, like maybe you could play college hockey. Like, would you want to do that? That sort of thing. It was never like my only focus, ice hockey. So I played other sports and stuff, and I didn't hyper focus on that one sport. So I never thought I would play it in college at all. But then I think starting my junior year, I took it a little bit more seriously and was enjoying it a lot and thought, oh, it would be nice to play for a little bit longer. So I kind of started with that process a little bit, which for me, it was mostly going to college showcases like throughout the summer and fall. I didn't play like top tier club. So it was a little bit harder on that end to get looks, but my I had a big support system outside of my high school coach as well. So they really helped me out with trying to figure out what schools I was looking at, like wanted to look at, um, what kind of hockey I wanted to play, what kind of commitment I wanted to make. So um, those, and also obviously my parents as well, helped me kind of figure out what I wanted, which ended up being Division 3 hockey, not having to make it my whole life. So that was kind of my process. It was a little bit, I guess, not traditional compared to, I think, typical college processes for other students, but it ended up working out for me.
Yeah. I mean, we know the ending. You ended up at Wesleyan, but what were some of the other options? Like, were there D1 options on the table that you considered alongside some other D3s?
No. So I actually didn't get a lot of offers. I think being a goalie, especially, it's really hard. I was a 2019 high school grad and I'm an '01 birth year. And so that kind of year had a lot of really good goalies. So I kind of struggled a bit. And also, since I was a little bit late to the recruiting process, a lot of people already had their goalies. So I mostly was looking at NESCAC schools. And then obviously, I wanted to apply to other, maybe it was Division I schools that were good academically, but I was going to try and maybe walk on or figure out a way to like play hockey there. But um, most of my options that I got like soft offers from a bit were other NESCAC schools like Bowdoin or Trinity. So it was kind of that same league that Wesleyan is in.
Right.
But I ended up only getting like a hard offer from Wesleyan.
When you say, because this is something that a lot of kids and parents ask us and struggle with, understanding like when they're being offered versus not, when they're being recruited versus not. So, how in your process did you understand hard offer versus kind of lukewarm interest from other people?
Yeah, so I went on a lot of like visits with the coaches. So I kind of took that as like soft offers or interest from teams. I was communicating a lot with them. Um, I they I mean, I think they were showing like very clear interest of that they wanted me to come to their school, but they obviously had to get a lot of things figured out on their end. Um, I just had to keep in my mind that like, oh, there's other goalies, doing these visits too. So that's kind of how I kept myself like not getting over excited or overly like eager about the kind of offer-ish that they were making to me. That like they probably said the same thing to another goalie. They just have to then figure out on their end like okay, we actually want to give them an acceptance kind of. I think, well, for D3, it's a little different for compared to Division I because you don't sign anything.
Yeah.
It's just they help you a little bit with like the getting into the school. They also put in, I think, a recommendation with admissions. And so you still have to get accepted to the school. So that was kind of the different process that I had with Wesleyan compared to Trinity or Bowdoin. It was that they really talked me through that admissions process and getting my application in and them saying that they put in their recommendation to admission. So that's how I took it as my like hard offer from Wesleyan was they were really following through on the
Yeah.
process and talking me through it. And they also said the words, I would say, like I had a phone call with them, but they actually said the words that we would like to offer you a
Hmm.
spot. So I think once you hear those words, I think it's pretty set that maybe that's that they want you, but
Yeah.
also then from there help me with the process through admissions. So that's how I kind of took it, the difference, I guess.
Nice. Yeah. I think that's a great split. It's a good breakdown of especially those follow-up actions that really show a coach not only can say the words, but then is very serious about getting you to the point, like you pointed out, that really matters in D3 recruiting, which is the admission, like navigating you through that side of the process. So um, yeah. So you land at Wesleyan. Was there already a goalie on the roster? Did you have to compete, or was it a situation where you could kind of come in and start playing early? Or was it COVID interrupted because it was 2020?
So my first year was a regular season. So I came into a really interesting situation, I guess, but I knew it going in, so I didn't really have my hopes up too much. But there were four of us when I was a freshman, so four goalies, and two were seniors, and one was, I believe, a sophomore. Um, so I was the youngest goalie. I just yeah, I had no expectations going in. One of the senior goalies was actually an All-American goalie, so I honestly was more excited to be learning from her than to really be expecting any play time. I kind of knew going in that I wasn't going to play a bit, so I already had that kind of expectation toned down in my head a bit. But yeah, so then I didn't play a single game my freshman year. But it was a conversation I had before the season really started with my coaches that it wasn't gonna maybe be like this great freshman season of I get to play in games and get that experience, but it was kind of a year of development for me and learning how to be a good teammate, being in that position of not even dressing half the games. So, um, yeah, it wasn't the best freshman year in that sense, but I also honestly was a great learning experience for me. And I had great goalie partners kind of helping me throughout the way, kind of helping me figure out how I wanted to play in college and developing and figuring out that big gap between high school and college hockey. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to know one thing you learned about yourself as like a person during that year, and then maybe one thing that helped you improve as a goalie during that year.
Yeah, I think as a person, I just was learning how to be like happy for other people's wins. Like I think from like a high schooler standpoint, it's like really easy, I think, to like that immature kind of mindset of if someone else is playing, like I can't be happy for them because I'm not playing, like a little bit of that competitive energy. I think I never really like obviously said it out loud, but I think inside me I was kind of always jealous of the people who would play instead of me, or I felt that that meant like I'm not good enough or like I don't deserve to be here. So kind of I was able to work through that, and with the help of one of the senior goalies, Allegra Grant, she was an All-American, but she really was like a very supportive senior role model for me. And always pushed me in practice and always made me feel like I mattered to the team, even if I wasn't dressing or wasn't playing. So I think that support that I got from honestly all my other teammates made me feel kind of still a part of the team and made me realize like, okay, so even though if I'm not playing, like I still like can use this time to make myself better, but also be happy for my other teammates who do get to play. So that was a big kind of change, I think, in my mindset as a person. Um, but on the ice, I think my biggest shift was just taking advantage of like the little time that we have. I would get on the ice like as much as I could because I wouldn't always get the most amount of reps in practice, like being four goalies, especially like pre-game practices. I think I would get into maybe like one or two drills because we would end up doing special teams or kind of full ice kind of practices. So the starting goaltender and the backup would take up most of the reps.
Yeah.
So I really wouldn't like I wouldn't even sweat. Sometimes I would be like, why am I even on the ice? But um I think instead of kind of just sitting there not doing anything, I would try and figure out ways I can get better during that little time that I had. Even if that was just like skating in the corner by myself or staying on for an extra 10 minutes after practice. And also like trying to get on the ice during my free time in between classes. So I think I learned how to take advantage of the ice times that were provided to us and kind of work on my work ethic in that sense.
Mm. Yeah, those are great. Good takeaways. And also, so I think something I've heard from a lot of other athletes that like even when a senior was getting the playing time or, in a larger role, like so many were willing to nurture the next generation, the younger athlete. Um, so you said Allegra Hunter, shout out to her for that contribution. Something else that comes up a lot, I think, in recruiting is, and it sounds like you did it in your own process, is trying to think about a school as more than an option to play your sport. Like have it be the whole package versus you just going there to get on the team and contribute immediately. And I think it seems like you did that at Wesleyan. Um, from an academic standpoint, social standpoint, like when you didn't have as much hockey as maybe you would have liked to from that competitive side of you that you mentioned, like what did Wesley and the school provide that helped you know it was still the right place to be?
Yeah. Well, I kind of had, I guess, a unique experience because of COVID. So it started my freshman spring. So I got to have my hockey season and then we were sent home. So I think from that standpoint, it was a little bit hard because it was kind of all hockey in a sense until COVID hit because our preseason is in the fall. So we were skating and lifting as a team. But I really took advantage though of like the different classes I could take at Wesleyan. I met a lot of people through that and meeting other kind of student athletes who don't play my sport and finding friends outside of my team was super important to me. So I was able to experience that a little bit before COVID hit, which they say a lot of our upperclassmen had said at the time, oh, the spring is great because like you get to take a break from hockey and meet a lot more new people that like you probably haven't met before because you've been so engrossed in the hockey, which I didn't really get to experience that, which was a little bit hard because I was so looking forward to it and excited about it and then COVID happened. But
Yeah.
so that was a little bit hard, I think, for me. But I am grateful I had that one semester of experience Wesleyan before COVID, because I will say the school really changed after COVID. So it would have been like my junior year is when we kind of had like no restrictions with regards to COVID. But it was a very different school, and atmosphere socially as well, after COVID. But I do look back to my freshman fall and I'm like, wow, I had so much fun and I like met so many people and it was just a different social scene. And I still talk to like so many people that I just like had met once or twice throughout my freshman fall now. So
Mm,
that was kind of, I guess, a great fun thing that I got to experience. Not having like the pressures and that competitiveness of hockey. Because I think if I was playing a lot, I think I would have been maybe a little more holed up in my room trying to recover for the next game. But I kind of had that advantage of I got to cheer on my teammates, but I also got to kind of let off some steam and have some fun and meet new people socially.
right. Yeah. Direct that energy elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Um, yeah. In terms of your career, after this freshman year where you maybe don't sweat in some practices or you're sitting out, you end up playing in 66 games, almost 1,800 saves with around like 93% save percentage, which is sounds all very impressive. I think like when you look back on your career in college, what do you really remember most or like value from that experience?
Yeah, I think as a hockey player, we are on campus for a month without any other students. So that's like a really, I found that I always looked back on those times, even after I graduated, of kind of like the little interactions I had with maybe freshmen when I was a fifth year and like these little kind of team bonding activities we would do that you wouldn't normally have the time to do if you were, you know, if school was in session and you had classes and stuff like that. So I honestly found that those bonds and friendships and like conversations I had during those times were some of the most like important and meaningful moments of my college career. Obviously winning some hockey games and having some upsets were also great, but at the end of the day, it is just a game. And I think the people that I've met through Wesleyan hockey and just the connections I've made through it are kind of the things that I've been taking with me after college. Because us beating a team is not really gonna do much for me now, but those kind of relationships and connections I've made have helped me and they've supported me through my career now as well. So that's kind of been some of like, I guess the most important things I've taken away from my career.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, when the game is over, it does feel like the thing that everyone remembers the most. I don't know if you guys have like alumni games or anything that you get back for, but those are it's just about connecting with those people and the shared experience and those relationships that really carry over. So it's good to hear that was the same on your end. Um, in terms of taking the jump from playing at Wesleyan to obviously you had this grad year you mentioned, I'm guessing because of COVID eligibility.
Yeah.
Um, what did you do your grad degree in while you were there?
Yeah, it's a master's in liberal studies. It doesn't sound very impressive, but I studied economics, psychology, and data analysis in my undergrad. So in my psychology degree, I kind of was focusing a bit on educational studies. So I took that a little bit and tried to make it into my grad degree. So it's technically a master's in liberal studies, but my concentration is in education and human development. So I take a lot of classes just on kind of education and kind of child development and kind of teaching practices. So, but the liberal studies aspect still comes in of where I can take a bunch of different classes and different topics outside of my concentration. So it's,
That's
yeah, it's kind of just like an extension of kind of a typical undergraduate liberal studies
very
program.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because I saw you had class of 23 with a grad class of 24 next to it in your bio. So, what do you feel like, you're currently playing pro hockey, which we can talk about in a second, but what do you feel like with that degree you kind of want to do once you hang up the skates and you're no longer playing goal?
Yeah, I don't want to think about that time, but
That's fair. That's fair. You can ignore the question.
no, but I think I've been coaching since I was in high school, I think like my senior year of high school or throughout college as well. So I've really enjoyed that aspect of kind of development and kind of helping that next generation and staying involved in the hockey world. But I don't know if that's like the career I necessarily want to take. It is like going into coaching, but kind of staying involved though in like that hockey world and in the sports world is super important to me. So I'm hoping maybe I can work for an NHL team or even just like an AHL affiliate or even junior hockey, but kind of staying in that hockey world somehow and using what I used in school to my advantage in that sense. But I don't know, I'm still not sure. I haven't really thought too much about it. Just trying to stay more present in the hockey and not thinking about my responsibilities later.
Very fair. And you do have a good thing going. So it seems like, yeah, let's get into that. Like you, you talked about at the top, you were contracted for a team in Sweden in and then you'd played in Norway previously.
Yeah.
Um, how did you have other examples, people ahead of you at Wesleyan or maybe in the D3 space that had made that jump, or like how did you find that first opportunity in Norway?
Yeah, so actually no one at Wesleyan necessarily did that jump, but at Middlebury, I don't know if you've heard of Maddie Light, but she also played hockey at Middlebury and she graduated, I think, a couple years ahead of me. But she made that jump to pro and she started her career, I believe it was in Hungary, in Budapest. And she played for a team there for a couple years before kind of moving up to Sweden, the top division there. So I talked to her a bit on her kind of process and advice. But I ended up getting an agent and she kind of helped me find teams that needed goalies and in the Europe area. But again, kind of like my college recruiting process, as a goalie, it was really hard for me to find a place. So I ended up, I guess, outside of that orthodox route to pro hockey, which is typically Sweden. I ended up in Norway, which was an amazing experience for me. But I played for the top division there for a team in Oslo. So I played there for a year before transitioning a little bit to like the second division in Sweden, but hopefully can like piggyback on that next year to a
Nice.
different.
So Sweden is like the go-to destination for women's hockey, is that?
Yeah, it has like the most infrastructure and money and sponsors and kind of support. So that's kind of where everyone wants to go. But obviously now there's the PWHL in the US, so a lot of like the top players are kind of wanting to play in North America. So it's opening up spots for us D3 players or cuspy players in Europe and Sweden. But there's also like a Swiss team division, which is they're also very good and they're putting a lot more money into it to grow it. And there's a bit of hockey in Germany and Austria and Hungary. So there's a lot of options. I think now, even in like the last 3 years, it's grown a lot. So I wouldn't say Sweden's the number one too much now, but it's still a very, very strong place to play.
Right, right. And no time like the Olympics to get people excited about kind of sports that maybe they wouldn't traditionally watch. You are about to jump into training camp with Team Japan. I think you have experience. You were on the U18 team. Maybe did you play before that as well?
No, I played like growing up because I played in Japan, like there were some like Team Tokyo stuff that's like regional, but for national team things, U18, which was my senior year of high school, I believe, was kind of my first experience.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then I was reading Japan has in the past two Winter Olympics finished sixth. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So what are the goals kind of for the team? What's the attitude like heading into you've been doing these monthly training camps, but like what's the attitude of the team heading into the Olympics?
Yeah, our goal as a team is obviously to medal. I think that's compared to like the last Olympics and stuff, it's been more of a reality than kind of like this like reaching like dream, kind of like Miracle on Ice. But I think that with the team that we have and the experience that we have through the veterans, and then also the skill and kind of that young talent that we have with girls that who are like 16, 17 years old on our team. We feel that it's something that if we really work hard for and kind of fight every second of every game for, that we can hopefully make it a reality. But yeah, that's our initial goal is kind of medaling for this Olympics and kind of leaving that legacy.
Gotcha. And in terms of depth chart on the team, where do you fall? Is it more of freshman year at Wesleyan or senior year at Wesleyan?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a little bit like my freshman year at Wesleyan, but honestly, I'm like so grateful that I'm even just on the team and I like didn't make it last year and I wasn't on the Olympic qualifying roster, so I honestly thought I was done playing hockey. So now that I'm here and still playing and I made the Olympic team, like I'm just so grateful to like just be on the team and have this opportunity. So I'm kind of channeling a little bit of my freshman year self of taking advantage of the moment and thinking about like what my teammates said to me when I was, super bummed that I couldn't dress or play. So I'm just really happy to just be here and experience it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be incredible. We'll be uh, following along as I'm sure a lot of D3 fans across the country, but um, yeah, just getting to experience everything from like being an Olympic athlete in the village, meeting people from other countries. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome experience for you. Um, break it down in terms of how I know your first game is in early February. You guys are playing France. Um, what is so hockey starts early and maybe is done early as well?
Yeah, I think especially women's hockey, I think starts before men's. But we are one of the first events that starts and then I think we end kind of like mid-February-ish. I think it's about like 2 weeks, I would say, that we have of playing. So towards the end, we stay until closing ceremonies. So we have a little bit of extra time at the end to kind of explore Milan and I guess maybe go see other events as well. So we kind of get that advantage a bit.
Nice. Any winter event that you want to be a spectator at? Like what is number one winter Olympic sport you want to watch?
Um, I mean, my dream would be like USA, Canada, if they make it. For the men's side, I kind of want to watch the finals game there. But outside of hockey, I am interested. I would love to go see like up in Cortina the ski and snowboarding half pipe events. I've always been super interested in that to go watch it, but I'm not so sure if we can like go all the way out there. So honestly, anything. I would watch curling. No offense to curling, but I don't understand it. But I would watch anything kind of just to experience, this kind of Olympics to its fullest.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, we will stay in touch. Definitely want to get some updates. You can send some videos over from the from the experience we can share. But yeah, I'd like to close out the pod with the question we ask everybody, which is if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, so 18-year-old Rei, what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
She needed a lot of advice, but I think I would tell her that just kind of it just I guess be grateful of the position that you're in and having kind of opportunities ahead of you and just take advantage of everything that's thrown at you. And just take it in stride. Don't be discouraged. And even if you're kind of taking a step back in anything, like that doesn't kind of determine your self-worth or anything. So just keep going and keep working hard and enjoy every day.
Yeah, great advice. Probably advice that a lot of people need to hear, even if they're not 18. So, um, yeah, thanks for that. Any kind of closing thoughts or any shout outs you want to give before we sign off here?
No, I'm good, but it was really, thank you so much for having me. It was really nice, and hopefully I can send you lots of cool videos, and hopefully I get to play, or maybe I'll get to dress, but if not, yeah, we'll see.
Well, we'll be tuning in. We'll be following to see how Team Japan does, and yeah, definitely excited to see where your career goes from here, whether it's on the ice or off. And but yeah, thanks for joining, Rei.
Yeah,
This has been another episode of the Student Athlete Sessions. You can get all previous episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, let us know who you want us to talk to next. Thanks, Rei.
thank you.